What does the Chronicler tell us about the tribes of Issachar, Benjamin, and Naphtali? This is the question we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 1Chronicles on Walking Through the Bible.
Glory of His cross.
Today we're going to be discussing 1Chronicles chapter 7, verses 1 to 13, but before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, turn to 1Chronicles chapter 7, verse 1, but if you don't have a Bible, don't worry, just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, 1Chronicles chapter 7, beginning at verse 1. The sons of Issachar were Tola, Puah, Jashub, and Shimron, 4 in all. The sons of Tola were Uzai, Raphaniah, Jeriel, Jamai, Jibsam, and Shemuel, heads of their father's house. The sons of Tola were mighty men of valor in their generations. Their number in the days of David was 22,600. The sons of Uzai were Izariah. The sons of Izariah were Michael, Obadiah, Joel, and Isaiah. All 5 of them were chief men. And with them, by their generations, according to their fathers' houses, were 36,000 troops ready for war, for they had many wives and sons. Now their brethren among all the families of Issachar were mighty men of valor, listed by their genealogies, 87,000 in all. The sons of Benjamin were Bela, Becher, and Jediel, 3 in all. The sons of Bela were Ezbon, Uzai, Uziel, Jeremoth, and Eri, 5 in all. They were heads of their fathers' houses, and they were listed by their genealogies, 22,034 mighty men of valor. The sons of Becher were Zemariah, Joash, Eliezer, Elionai, Omri, Jeremoth, Abijah, Anathoth, and Elameth. All these were the sons of Becher, and they were recorded by their genealogy according to their generations, heads of their fathers' houses, 20,200 mighty men of valor. The sons of Jediel were Bilhan, and the sons of Bilhan were Jeush, Benjamin, Ehud, Chenanah, Zethan, Tarshish, and Ahishar. All these sons of Jediel were heads of their fathers' houses. There were 17,200 mighty men of valor fit to go out for war and battle. Shupam and Hupam were the sons of and Husham was the son of Aher. The sons of Naphtali were Jaziel, Gunai, Jezer, and Shalom, the sons of Bilhah. In chapter 6, we looked at the family of the Levites. We started with the house of Aaron, from which the high priest came, and then moved on to the 3 larger branches in the Levites, the Kohathites, the Gershonites, and the Merarites. We discussed how each of these sections of the Levites received cities within the boundaries of the different tribes of Israel because the Levites didn't receive an inheritance of their own. And then in the middle of the chapter, we saw the musicians that David set up for the temple and the houses that they came from, one from each of the 3 major houses of Levi. Thus far, then, we have covered the genealogies of 5.5 tribes in Israel, with the others being Judah, Simeon, Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh east of the Jordan. Coming to chapter 7 now, and we come to the tribe of Issachar. Issachar was the 9th son of Jacob and 5th born to Jacob's first wife, Leah. His name means wages or reward, seeing as Leah viewed that God had paid her wages and given her a reward. Issachar had 4 sons named Tola, Puah, Jashub, and Shimron. Let's compare these names with what we read of in Genesis 46, verse 13. The sons of Issachar were Tola, Puah, Job, and Shimron. As you can see, there is a spelling difference between Puah and Puah, but that, of course, could either have been a scribal error or simply a different way of spelling this name. However, Jashub and Job are not really the same name. So what is going on here? Well, it could very well mean that this man had 2 names. However, in Numbers 26, verse 24, which gives us again the genealogies of Issachar, Jashub is used there. So what appears to have happened here is a scribal error. Not in the original copy, for the Samaritan Codex of this passage does have Jashub here in 1Chronicles 7. As for the names here, there aren't any notable among them that we would recognize, so there's not much more to say about them, other than the fact that there are obviously missing generations here, as the numbers of valiant men of the house of Issachar was 87,000 in all. At the time of the census in Moses' day, Issachar totaled 64,300 men, and so this number represented some time later. We're told that this number was taken during the days of David, so it is likely taken during the census in the days of David. Verses 6 to 12 deals with the genealogies of Benjamin. Benjamin was the youngest son of Jacob and the son that Rachel gave birth to when she died in childbirth. Admittedly, the genealogies of the tribe of Benjamin are the hardest to reconcile, for there are not only scribal spelling errors, but people that had more than one name or name translations, and there were also skip generations, for there appears to be different people at different portions in time. The reason for this shouldn't be seen of as nefarious or even contradictory, for we must remember something about the tribe of Benjamin. It was nearly wiped out during the period of the Judges. If you recall back to Judges 19 through 21, it was men from the tribe of Benjamin who brutally raped a Levite's concubine, men that the tribe wouldn't hand over to be punished. As a result, Israel went to war with Benjamin and nearly wiped it out. It didn't, but it nearly did. It was so bad that the remaining Benjamites had to be provided wives so they wouldn't die out. So, finding discrepancies within these lists is not unexpected, as they would represent the Benjamites at different periods in time. In 1Chronicles 7, we're told that the sons of Benjamin were Bela, Becher, and Jediel. In Genesis 46, verse 21, we read, "The sons of Benjamin were Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Mupim, Hupim, and Ard." Obviously, there is a big difference between 3 children and 10, so what's the explanation? Well, some commentators try to come along and say that some of these children are in fact grandchildren, because Numbers 26 verses 38 to 41 would have Naaman and Ard as sons of Bela, not Benjamin directly. However, we have seen already that grandchildren can have the same name as their relatives, and so such a conclusion isn't necessary, and we thus need more facts. But I suggest that people like Naaman and Ard cannot be grandchildren of Benjamin, because they're described as coming down with Jacob into Egypt in Genesis 46. And from that study, we determined that Benjamin was in his early 20s back then, making him having grandchildren by this point very unlikely. Rather, what could have easily happened is that in Egypt, and then afterwards as well during the time of the Judges, only 3 of the houses of Benjamin ended up forming families of note, with the others not doing so or later going extinct. From entry into Egypt to the census and numbers during the days of Moses, you seem to have lost 5 families. And then in the time of the Judges, you seem to have lost 2 more, meaning that only 3 major families existed by the time the Chronicler is recording here, those of Bela, Becher, and Jediel. Jediel seems to correspond to Ashbel, but in actuality, which son this refers to is uncertain. What we can be certain of is that one of Benjamin's sons had another name, of which is recorded here in 1 Chronicles. So instead of having grandsons, what we're concluding is that Bela named some of his sons after his uncles, and therefore these were not the same people that were recorded back in Genesis 46. If someone disagrees with that assessment, then that's okay, as this won't determine our entrance into heaven, but I think that from my study of Scripture, this conclusion fits with the passages found in Scripture. Due to the numbers of the mighty men of valor, we can be certain that those numbers come at least from the time of David, if not afterwards, because the tribe of Benjamin was reduced to only 600 men in the days of the Judges, so we can at least be certain of that. We're going to see Benjamin's house talked about again in chapter 8 in order to introduce us to King Saul, so we'll save further comment on that until then. Coming now to Naphtali, the 6th son of Jacob and the 2nd son of Bilhah, Jacob's concubine and Rachel's handmaiden, all we get by the chronicler is the list of his 4 sons, Jaziel, Gunai, Jezer, and Shallum. Back in Genesis 46, verse 24, we read, "The sons of Naphtali were Jaziel, Gunai, Jezer, and Shillem." As you can see then, the only difference between these lists are some spelling differences, but other than that, we know nothing more of these men, and so cannot comment any further on them. We'll deal with West Manasseh and Ephraim, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 1 Chronicles chapter 7, verses 14 to 29, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.